The Justice Department releasing tens of thousands of records on disgraced financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The files were heavily redacted, including photographs, contact lists, flight logs, business records, court documents, and more. According to California Congressman Ro Khanna, the DOJ's extensive redactions to the Epstein files don't comply with the law that Congress passed last month mandating their disclosure. In fact, he posted this video on X. Watch.
She first said there were no more documents to be seen. Now she's admitting and releasing hundreds of thousands of documents, but it is an incomplete release with too many redactions. Thomas Massey and I are exploring all options. It can be the impeachment of people at justice, inherent contempt, or referring for prosecution those who are obstructing justice.
Judge Andrew Napolitano, our senior judicial analyst, joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Sean. I'm sort of making a face. Reporting to the Justice Department people for prosecution. He's talking about the people that run the Justice Department, so obviously that's not going to get anywhere. Here's their complaint. A lot of things that were expressly ordered by the statute and by federal judges were not released. Example, a 119-page transcript of a grand jury presentation, which a federal judge expressly ordered to be released. Hundreds and hundreds of pages that were totally and completely redacted. Names of people who could not have been victims, nevertheless, were redacted. That's why these guys are upset. Now, what can they do? Well, if you think that the executive branch is not complying with the law, you sue them. But I don't think a lawsuit is going to work. Congress rarely sues. It enacts legislation. The other thing they're upset about is the statute says if you're going to redact something, you have to put in the margin what it is. This is the name of a victim, redacted for that reason, and they failed to do that. So in the view of these members of Congress who initiated this, the Justice Department has dropped the ball now for a second time.
But at their, I don't want to say at their lowest, but at their bare minimum of the threshold of meeting the requirement, releasing the documents. Yes, it has redactions, but they did release the documents with redactions, but they were released. Is that, I mean, are they playing that card, if you will?
You know, it's hard for me to know exactly what's going on. I tried to look at this stuff, and there's a tremendous amount of redactions, and it doesn't tell you what's redacted. Gloria Allred, the famous California lawyer who represents victims, now says this morning some victims' names were not redacted. They redacted other people's names instead. So this is kind of a mess. It gives the implication that the Justice Department either has dropped the ball because of incompetence, because of overwork, or because of a bias that there's certain areas that they don't want to reveal, but they don't have that choice in light of this statute.
I mean, my mind goes there, too. I try to look at all possibilities in terms of why maybe this would have been, in terms of the redactions and what was released. And it goes to the human aspect, to me, of you're looking at tens of thousands of documents. You don't have time to comb over. What's the easiest way? Redact, and here's the release. We just blocked out a couple of this because I don't have time to go.
Well, you have a very good point. You're dealing with about 350,000 pages of documents. They had 200 people doing the redaction. So do the math. They must have erred in favor of redacting because once something's out, you can't take it back. And some of the things that they redacted after complaints, they unredacted. So you can unredact, but you can't redact what you've put out and expect it to remain secret. Once it's out there, it's out there.
So it is possible that the DOJ had no malintent here. They're simply overworked with 350,000 pages here, and they had to release it in a certain time. They did what they could. Is that a possibility?
Yes, and that's why these suggestions about impeachment are extreme and not well grounded. Now, the House could hold the Attorney General in contempt tomorrow. They don't even need hearings for that. Obviously, if they're going to vote for impeachment, they're not going to get anywhere. This is not treason. It's not bribery. It's not a high crime or misdemeanor in that category. But they could hold her in contempt, which in Florida, which is where she's licensed to practice law, will result in her loss of her license to practice law.
All right. We'll follow that, of course. I wanted to bring this up with you before you go. Attorneys for Luigi Mangione, that is the man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, they're now attempting to avoid the death penalty for Mangione, throw out the 2 federal charges in the Justice Department's case against him. Remember, at home you have the state and you have federal charges. Mangione's attorneys are saying that Attorney General Pam Bondi has a, quote, profound conflict of interest because she used to work at a lobbying firm that represents United Health Group. His lawyers said any criminal defendant, let alone one whom the government is trying to kill, is due a criminal process that is untainted by the financial interests of his prosecutors.
I don't think this argument will hold much weight. This is so attenuated, a job that she had long before this event with Mangione began. Their better argument, they don't need legal advice from me, but I'll give it to them. Their better argument is that this is not a federal case. As horrible as it is, it's an old-fashioned murder. A guy shot on a public street in New York City. What's the federal case? Well, the feds are claiming that by killing the president of United Healthcare, Luigi Mangione was trying to affect interstate commerce. That's a bit of a stretch. I don't know how they're going to prove that. If there is no federal case, there is no death penalty. The only reason they're arguing there is a federal case is because New York State does not have a death penalty. Now they're quoting things that Attorney General Bondi said, showing her wish to execute him irrespective of the evidence.
Yeah.